Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. This is Simon with AvaTrade, and we're starting our weekly webinar mapping out our week ahead. And in simple words, what we're trying to do here is actually create order, create a plan for the upcoming week. We'll go through some fundamentals, we'll take a look at technicals, and so on. Few things about myself. My name is Simon Friedman. I'm a senior account manager with AvaTrade. I started my trading career in June of 2000, so it's over 24 years now. I'm still very passionate about this industry. I started as a prop trader. After 11 years of that intense trading, I moved on to different way of trading. Also started to mentor and educate other traders, and also I'm very happy that I have this great opportunity to assist our customers at AvaTrade. The agenda, as I said, we'll talk about indices, stocks, commodities, and Forex. We'll share some fundamentals. We'll take a look at economic calendar, and we'll take a look at the charts, analyze a little bit of technicals. Risk warning. You can find the full statement at avatrade.com website, and of course, everything we do here, it's purely educational. We do not suggest any trades, of course. Social media, I highly recommend for you to subscribe to our channels. You have Telegram, you have X, which used to be Twitter. YouTube, as I always say, it's my favorite. You have a lot of material that's being added every day. You have educational material, you have tutorials, you have webinars, including this one, that you can watch if you ever missed the live webinar. So please subscribe, click on that bell so you'll be notified when new things are coming in. And of course, if you are watching this on YouTube, please feel free to click on likes, also share, and write your feedback. If you have any questions, feel free to write it. Okay, so before we go into specifics, just first of all, apologize for not doing last week's webinar. I did warn you at the previous one. I was traveling. I was in New York seeing my family, and I couldn't do it physically or technically, so I didn't want just to do it for the sake of doing it. I wasn't prepared. Also, on vacation, I tried to not to be exposed to the market. I give some energy to my family, and also I needed a break. So I wasn't so connected to the market to give a valuable webinar. So I'm back. This week or the past week, we had a few events. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about the economic calendar for the upcoming week, and of course, the week before we had that surprise 0.5% cut from the Feds and other things. So if you take the last week, we had some moves from China. We'll take a look at Chinese index, and also there was an election with Japan with a new prime minister who is there are speculations that he's actually supporting the Bank of Japan further policy tightening, which mean increase in interest rate and increase in the value of the yen. So we'll take a look at that as well. Okay, so let's take a look at some slides that I prepared here. So if you remember, we spoke a few weeks back that September usually is a volatile month for stocks, usually negative one. It wasn't so bad. And this article here on marketwatch.com says the title, it was September to remember for stocks, but October presents fresh challenges for the rally. And it goes into economic data. It goes into, of course, the upcoming elections, which puts a lot of pressure on everything, including the market. So you can take a look at that article. So we are to expect continued volatility in October, which is good for traders. Now, Tesla stock was up. Of course, the Chinese move, just a few things. What they did in China, that they cut the interest rates and also they cut the requirements for the banks to hold the cash. It's a bold move. It could be risky, but it did move the Chinese index and everything connected to it. So we'll take a look at the Chinese index when we get to the charts, but it did boost Tesla price as well. Also, Tesla is we are waiting for that October 10 presentation from Tesla for the robotaxi, and as you could see here, the price crossed or closed above 260. Bitcoin had a nice week. Also, somehow analysts connected to China. It says right here, Bitcoin is only 10% below its March record high in the wake of Chinese stimulus measures and the Federal Reserve first rate cut since 2020. We'll take a look at Bitcoin as well. Intel, finally, we hear some good news from Intel. Let's just read it together. It's important. By the way, there were some rumors or information that Qualcomm is trying to take over or buy out Intel. Initially, that actually moved the stock higher. So here we go. Says signs of life. For most of semiconductor history, Intel reigned as the chip king. No company could match its leadership in designing or manufacturing chips, but over time the company lost its way. In recent years, Intel hasn't developed leading processors, and it hasn't showed significant improvement from generation to generation until now. Intel's latest chip for servers and mobile PCs arrived this week, and they are receiving nearly universal praise for tech aspects. On the server side, Intel's latest Xeon processor now appears to be market leading for the first time this decade. Today marks the first time in about 86 months that Intel has a leadership server, 86 CPU again. Patrick Kennedy wrote Tuesday on Serve the Home and popular enterprise computing review site. Okay, so there are some signs of life, some positive things on Intel. We'll take a look at the shares or the stock when we get to the chart. Another thing, as we usually watch the 10-year yields, if you take a look, we're pretty much flat on the week. We had few attempts to move higher. We're right between the two marks, between 365 and 392. We're kind of in the channel here. So just to remind us that strong 10-year yields in favor to a dollar, and not so good for gold, and the opposite, when the yield's going lower, the dollar goes lower with it, and gold has a positive move to the upside. Okay, so that's 10-year yields. Friday was down, so that technically means, or potentially means, that dollar should be going lower. We'll take a look when we get there. Now, economic calendar. I'm sorry for jumping here. Somehow my mouse is jumping. Economic calendar, a few things, especially for new people about the economic calendar. This is public information. You can find it on our web trader or the mobile app, also third-party providers. You can just Google it and see what works for you. They all report the same from the same sources. You can know it ahead of time. What I do here, I take out only the high impact events, and here we go. Now, also some traders ask, should we follow economic calendar? Should we use economic calendar? It's all individual. Some people actually like to trade the events. Others try to stay away. But I think every trader that trades actively should know these things in advance. Some people like to put it in their calendar and reminders. So you don't want to be caught in an unexpected move without knowing or remembering that certain things are happening, especially interest rate decisions, or the high impact events as NFPs or CPI numbers or any other decision-making events that create extra volatility in the market. So, of course, the highlight of the week is NFPs on Friday, but we'll get there. So on Monday, we have Chinese data. As we said, China is really trying to revive the economy. So we have the manufacturing PMI numbers and service PMI numbers on Monday from China, retail sales from Germany, GDP numbers from UK, CPI numbers from Germany. Powell's speech, as we know, every time he speaks, market moves. That's also on Monday. And manufacturing index from Japan as well on Monday. Tuesday, we have retail sales from Australia, CPI numbers from European Union, and manufacturing PMI from US. Now, we have ADP employment on Wednesday, which gives us a little bit of indication how or how many jobs were added. Sometimes it's similar to non-farm payroll. Sometimes it's not. So you can really know in advance how NFPs are, but it gives a little bit of a taste what the employment situation is. So that's on Wednesday. Thursday, the trade balance from Australia, CPI numbers from Switzerland, monetary policy report from Bank of England, service PMI from US, and we come to Friday, which is the highlight of the week. We have NFPs, which is non-farm payroll, also different employment data, including unemployment. So that's on Friday. Again, a lot of data. The highlight is Friday NFPs. Okay, now let's move to the charts, and we'll take a look at. We'll start with indices, starting with China. Then we'll move to stocks. We'll talk about Tesla, NIO, Intel, McDonald's, and a few others. Then we'll move to commodities, to the big movers for the week: natural gas, copper, soybeans, and crude oil. Then we'll move to Forex. We'll talk about currencies that are affected by China, Aussie and New Zealand, and Japanese yen. Big move on Friday with the elections of the Prime Minister. And we'll finish with Bitcoin. All right, let's move China. Here we go. Take a look at this move. The whole week, pretty much. You take a weekly chart. It's probably the biggest weekly range in a while, if not ever. Let's take a look. The low 11,202, the high 13,592. That's 2,300 something points. That's huge. Take a look. We just erased the move down that started July 30th of last year. We actually hit that high, which is significant here. I guess they really are hoping that these measures that Chinese government is taking would be really, really good. The excitement is there. Take a look. In 1 week, we had a huge move coming to the resistance of more than a year ago, 14 months to be precise. All right, so China, of course, as you know, when I talk about China, I bring up 4 assets. That's crude oil, copper, Australian, and New Zealand dollar. So copper did have a nice move with Chinese index going higher. Just trying to find it. Here we go. Copper, as you could see, also had a nice weekly move. We already had 2 previous weeks to the upside, and on the daily chart, it looks like we're facing a resistance at the current levels here. Now, interestingly enough, crude oil we'll go more in details. Didn't really move. It did move on Friday a little bit, but prior to that, we fell from the recent attempt to move higher. And two commodity currencies, as they call them, Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar, they had a nice move. Here we go. For the week, there was a strong move, also 3 consecutive weeks to the upside on Australian dollar, as you could see here, and New Zealand dollar as well. As you could see, New Zealand dollar is facing resistance again, and that's the result of the move to the upside of the Chinese index. Now, Japanese index, the opposite direction, as you could see here, we had a red week for Japanese Nikkei. As you could see Friday, when that move, when we get to yen, you'll see it was the opposite direction. Of course, as yen went stronger, the Japanese index fell down significantly. It was a big move on the high volume as well. So let's see how the upcoming week plays for Nikkei here. Now, US indices. The strongest was the blue chip, as I call it, or Dow Jones, as you could see here. On Dow, we managed to close the week at the all-time high. We were much higher, as you could see here. On Friday, we reached the level of 43,000 here, 43,003, fresh high, and then we gave away some of the profits. So that's Dow Jones is the strongest. If you take S&Ps and Nasdaq, S&P had a red day. We did move lower on Friday, and Nasdaq as well. Now for the week, we still had 3 consecutive weeks on both Nasdaq and S&Ps. Now S&Ps didn't manage to close higher than the previous week's high. So still with the highs, as you could see here on all indices. So the prediction of the analysts for a traditional sell-off in September didn't really happen. So we are at the end of September. We still have 1 day. Anything could happen, of course. And we are facing October, as we mentioned in the slide previously. Some analysts are predicting high volatility due to a lot of reasons, including the elections in the US. Okay, so that's the US indices. German DAX, all-time high after accumulation here in this channel. We had a huge week. As you could see here, we closed at the highs, 19,565. And if you take a daily chart, also we were higher, and we'll give away a little bit of that move. So let's see how this week starts. Will this move be sustained, and will we move higher, or should we see a correction? French index, here we go. This past week we broke through the previous resistance, but not really close to the highs. And if you take the UK FTSE, we're having a hard time breaking this level here around 83.50. As you could see here, a lot of tails. We had initial resistance here. Then again, we tried to move or break through. We did succeed, but came right back in. And here this past week, we have a lot of tails attempts to break higher, and we still closed below 83.50. So we're going to be watching, of course, the UK index the upcoming week. Okay, let's move to stocks. Now, as we said, we had some positive moves from China, and that affected a lot of assets, and that includes Tesla, as Tesla is selling well in China. And here we go. We had a nice move this past week. If you take a weekly chart, we had a positive week, trying to break through this, I guess, around 265 level. That's what we hit July 9th. Then we had few tails and we went lower, below 200, and now slowly we came back up, and we are at 260 currently. Now, another stock, another company that's being positively affected, that's NEO. You could see here a nice move in this instrument on Friday. As you could see here, weekly was a nice move. We are trying to break out, which is climbing towards 7 level, what used to be a support for a while, until we broke to the downside. So NEO is also worth watching. You can find it on the MT5 platforms. Intel, as we said, let's see. Intel had a nice week. If you take a weekly chart, 3 consecutive weeks after hitting the lows below the book value, right? So again, there was some information about Qualcomm trying to offer a takeover for Intel. I guess we're going to hear more about it. So that was the initial move, I think, when the news came through, and then we continued higher. You know, there's a saying in trading: you buy the rumors, you sell the news. So every time there are rumors, the traders are acting upon it, and sometimes when the news come out, they're already unloading with the profits. So Intel is trying to climb out of this situation here, and what I share with you about the new processors, it could boost the price of the shares. So far we had a nice recovery here from the low below 19 to 24. That's a nice move to the upside. So that's Intel. Now, something that we don't speak about often, but I just realized that McDonald's just slowly moving higher here week by week, and we are at the all-time highs. So there's nothing to hold it from moving higher. At the same time, we might see the correction. Also here on the daily chart, a few days back, as you could see here, the bullish sign when the 50-day moving average crosses about 200. Some analysts take it as a bullish signal. So McDonald's all-time highs, worth watching it. Now, from the big boys, nothing major is happening here. Apple still struggling through the 230. The new phone came in, as we said, the 16. The initial weekend orders were lower than expected. I guess we're going to hear more about it as more people or more users will be sharing their feedback. Google is sitting right around 50-day moving average here. Netflix is holding about 700, but which is hit this past week. We hit the trend line, as you could see here, and we rejected the move higher. Meta is the strongest out of all of them. I think there was an article saying that Zuckerman gamble finally works. I didn't have a chance to read it, but I guess all the Meta platform plans looks like it was worth it. Initially, the investors were skeptical, but as of now, the stock is holding at the all-time highs, as you could see here. Even though we had the red days, but we are holding after this strong move to the upside. We closed at 567, and during the week, the high was 576.5. So that's as far as Meta. Out of all the 7 majors or magnificent stocks, as they call them, it's actually even an ETF that's trading that includes all of them. So it's the strongest out of all. AT&T. Where are you? Here we go. It's also keeping strong. You could see here the weekly chart. We are moving slowly, and it looks like we closed above the previous double top at 2150. We closed at 2187. Very important to notice we've had few attempts to break higher, and then we finally do that. And let's see if that holds. So 2150, it looks like becoming a support at this point. And let's see if AT&T is managing to move higher from here. Just to remind us, we spoke about it a few weeks back. They have this fiber optic they're working on, and also they're improving their financial situation as well. So it looks like it attracted some action, positive action on AT&T. Let's take a look at Boeing really quick. As we know, we spoke about it 2 weeks ago, the 33,000 workers on strike. And the latest news I checked, they rejected the final deal, whatever that means. And still, the stock managed to move a little bit higher Thursday and Friday. So as of now, since this latest move, it looks like support is around 152. We did close Friday at 156.15. Okay, let's move to commodities, and we'll start with the biggest movers for the week, actually. Natural gas, nice move to the upside. We closed at 291, and we are very close. Also very important to notice the reversal points. As you could see here, we did have a reversal here starting on June 25th, which went straight to take natural gas below $2 until we found the support at the beginning of August, and since then slowly stepping up. So natural gas was up 9.2% for the week. Strong move to the upside. The previous week was also strong as well. So also, as you could see here, we briefly went 50 below 200 and we came right back above. So we could see continuation, and we have to watch the current levels. As you could see here, the sell-off started close to the current price, a little bit higher at around 295, and we went more than a full dollar lower until we start recovering. So that's natural gas. As we said, copper, nice move to the upside with Chinese booster, let's call it that way. Copper was up 5.68% for the week. Nice move, 3 consecutive weeks. Let's see how we look this upcoming week. Again, we are approaching possible resistance at 468. As you could see here, we had a few attempts to break higher. The latest one was July 5th of this year. So that's copper. Soybeans also, as we know, it's been a struggle for the grains. And this past week, soybeans done great. You could see for the week, we had a nice move, significant move. We almost closed the gap here. And we were up for the week 5.3%. Excuse me. So it looks like we're trying to close the gap. We're above the 50-day moving average, below the 100. And Friday was a very strong candle. Also, you can call it the outside, which was lower than the previous day and higher than the previous day. Strong candle here. Let's see if we continue here or we might find the resistance. And crude oil, usually, as we said, with China, we would have a move in crude oil to the upside. We did have a negative week, as you could see here, red week for crude oil, and crude oil went down 3.32%. It's very interesting because if you remember, we discussed it a few times. You have two aspects that affects any market. You have the demand and the supply. So here, with China trying to revive the economy, you could see the copper moved. So it looks like demand would be higher. So that's one positive aspect for the oil. From the supply side, things in the Middle East getting hot. As you know, the leader of Hamas terrorist organization was killed, and that creates a lot of worries around the region of possible retaliation, of Lebanese, and also the Iran is threatening and other things. So you would think as things are getting hotter in the region, that would represent the threat to the supply. But as you could see, oil didn't really react to the upside. The opposite, we had the move from the recent move to the upside around $72. We actually went on Thursday as low as 66.94, below 67, and Friday was a little bit of a move to the upside. So oil is not really showing any strength. Okay, let's move to currencies. And as we spoke already about the Australian dollar, as you could see here with China, it moves nicely higher. We are moving higher here. We did have a nice attempt on Friday, which ended up reversing. So as of now, we had pretty much resistance around 0.69 on Australian dollar, and support is around 68. As you could see here, that was a resistance, and this past week, the previous one, we broke through it and tried to establish the new position here around 0.69. New Zealand dollar as well, after confirming this 161.40, as you could see here, with a nice move to the upside. This past week, we had a nice move here on the 24th, a reversal on the 25th, and then Friday, it was a new attempt to move higher, which also failed. So here, similar to Australian dollar, we take this high of September 24th as our immediate resistance. It's around 0.6350. Now, it's all about Japanese yen, as we said. Friday, after the news on the election, we did have a nice move, and it came at 6 a.m. GMT. Here we go. A strong move here. We're talking about more than 300 pips on dollar yen. Strong move, and it's not just the dollar. If you take the Japanese yen across the board, huge move here. Also above 300 pips here on Swiss yen, Aussie yen as well. Aussie yen also in the latest session, he actually moved lower than the initial move. Canadian as well, super weak against the yen, and here comes euro as well, and pound as well. So you could see the initial move. If you take dollar yen, initial move was very strong, and after a little bit of a hesitation, we did continue sliding lower here on Japanese yen, on dollar yen. So Japanese yen gained that strength. Again, to remind us, with the new prime minister, there are speculations that he's going to support the further policy tightening of Bank of Japan. Just to remind us, There was a negative interest for a very long time, and in recent months, it was brought to zero, and then there was a small increase. And it looks like the bet is on this new prime minister to encourage Bank of Japan for further increase or tightening policy. So that's as far as the forex. Let's just take a look at the one more instrument. As you could see here, dollar is continuing sliding against the South African rand. If we continue, this is the third consecutive week to the downside. If we continue lower, we might reach that 200-week moving average, or even lower, the previous support around 1672. As you could see here, in general, dollar is not that strong, but it looks like ZAR is gaining strength against the dollar, so it's worth noticing. And of course, Bitcoin currently holding nicely around 65 or above 65,000, and as you could remember, this year high was close to 74,000, 73,771. If you take a weekly chart, 3 consecutive weeks higher than the previous high here, it looks good. Let's see how this week plays. Again, the analyst said that the move, as I showed you on the slide, that the move is affected by Chinese stimulus as well, also affected by the interest rate decision of the Fed by cutting. They said there's more equity available for risky assets. I'm quoting some of the analysts. So let's see if this move is sustainable. If we are holding 65, we might continue higher. If we slide here, we might look for another support to the downside. Okay. So again, please remember about the social media. Subscribe, click on the likes, share, write your feedback, especially on YouTube. Let's just summarize what we spoke about. We had good news from China. We had good news for yen from Japan. Not so great for the market, as strong Japanese yen affects the Nikkei or Japanese market in a negative way. We are looking forward to Friday's NFP's numbers. This is the first employment data since the first interest rate cut from the states, from the Feds. Very, very important. We're definitely looking forward to that October and to see how that volatility plays. We'll take a look at the big players, the big stocks, how they develop. We'll continue watching Tesla as Chinese market is moving higher. Intel definitely in focus for that rumor of the takeover offer and positive news on the chips. And I want to wish everyone a great weekend, whatever's left. Get some energy, prepare yourself for the busy week. And I want to wish everyone a successful and productive week ahead. Be well, all the best. And we should be back next Sunday. All the best.